Kia ora koutou. Welcome along to this session with Dave Greville as part of our Joy of Play Educators Virtual Conference for 2024. It's lovely to have you join us, and I'm really excited to introduce to you Dave. Dave is a teacher at Oxford Crescent School, or was in 2023. He's just finished up there at the end of last year, and he is an amazing play practitioner, working in the previous year with year 3 and 4. And I'm so excited to have Dave share his journey with you all. He is going to share the ups and downs and the trials and tribulations and the wonderings and light bulb moments, I'm sure, that happened. So I'm going to hand over to you, Dave.
Thank you, Sarah. Okay, my talk is called Nightmare to Nirvana, and it really truly is. It was kind of nice alliteration, but I'll go through the slides. That'll be the best way. Because the way I'm setting this talk up is that I'm kind of imagining that the people who might have been there if we were doing this as a talk would be thinking, yeah, I can kind of get the sense of it, but how can this work? There's in my mind, I've just got all these things because that's what I was like. So my sort of audience, if you're here and you're thinking, how can this work? Bit worried, unsure, got some doubts, then yeah, that's what I'm talking about. And in the talk, there'll be, I probably don't need a point, like just my background, who I am briefly, nightmarish ideas that I had to do with play, Longworth and Sarah, Ione, sorry. And then just a bunch of Nirvana examples of learning through play, where, yeah, I'll talk later about how it gives a joy to the students, but just mentioning that it gives a joy to me as a teacher, in your daily practice. It's so awesome. Also, some aspects of, I think, my perhaps personality and management style that I think helped me help the class and the kids to make it work. So, of course, that's, everyone's different. It doesn't have to be like that, but just what I feel. And then just sort of beyond classroom sessions, just another thing that my sort of musings. Okay. So yeah, my background, diploma in teaching, primary, and a BA in psychology. I was teaching since the mid-90s, all the way through. And the key things I'm thinking about that in terms of management, for some reason jumping into my head, it's kind of like from the assertive discipline through to PB4L. And, perhaps now a lot of people aren't really aware of the assertive discipline. So it wasn't the strap or anything like that, but it was things like literally 3 strikes, you're out, removed from the room, detentions, all this at primary level. PB4L, very positive, which I love this lashings of positives. And yeah, specifically with the teaching I did, it was mainly year 5, 6. I did a whole lot of relief teaching, some point teaching. I mixed it up as well with Senko for about 3 or 4 years. And in the last 3 or 4 years, I've been year 3 or 4, a mix or just straight year 4. And that's been my years where I have been doing play. Nightmare, right. So, yeah, like I said earlier, I feel that I could really sense the positive learning experiences when we were talking about play with the initial developments and facilitators. I thought, yeah, I think I can see that. I see how that works. But always just in my mind, literally that. I'm thinking, yeah, I can see how that works, but no, I can just see all these other things happening as well. And that was things like you sort of picture things as a teacher, I do, visualize what's happening with what could happen with the kids in the classroom. And just things like, yeah, nothing being done, them just mucking around, nothing done. Resources I had out, wrecked, kids ruining things and destroying things. Silly, even dangerous things that they may be doing. A lot of various activities all over and starting to use all sorts of things, honestly, dangerous fights over things, arguments, could come to me jumping over and stopping people punching each other or something, and creating an environment that would upset the children, parents, me as well, wouldn't fit into time demands, and also would be, with the growing amount of kids with different sort of issues and complicated things going on, create an environment that would really be the worst for them. And the facilitators were great. They talked of how I'd have this awesome engagement. There would be few behavior issues because I'd say these things to them, and there'd be independent learning. And I mean, they're saying that, and I'm just listening and thinking, yeah, that's bullshit. There's no way. I can't see that. I'm an experienced teacher. So anyway, that's the nightmarish part. And then Longworth and Sarah, I've got mine set blindness there, but it's more like if you were like you couldn't see right from birth. It's a thing you don't know. You've never known. So I couldn't quite think of the proper words there for it. But so I was coming from that to boarding the play train where Sarah's mentioned it to me, where I have the light bulb moment, and then boom, it's just like it's so awesome. It's really amazing when it happens, and when because it's a thing that for me that happened, like it happened for me, but it happened for the kids, and it happened in the things you see, and then it's just this. It really is an amazing thing to be part of and to experience a phenomenon. Yeah. The program we did, it kind of started with to me, it was kind of like a wedge, and it got you a little bit started because it's challenging, taking on board some of the things, trying some of the things, challenging to your practice, challenging to trusting of the children and yourself and all that sort of thing. And then the way it starts off, it's kind of not really to do with you. It's like, oh, you just need some more materials and resources in the room and things. So it's all very non-confrontational. Not that it gets super confrontational, but it's a beautiful approach. I noticed it, and just where it just built on it, and then it enabled you to see it would happen, then and it worked so well. So I just want to thank Sarah and the team and praise that program up because it really is well thought out. I could see the relationship. I can still remember some of my psych work and research methods and things like that. And I was thinking, yeah, I think I see how this works. It's pretty clever. And that part there, so that's kind of the resources, the opportunities for the class and the teacher. And then, next step beyond resources, essential skills. And it was, wonderful to go through that. And I think I drifted straight into this too. Sorry, I should look at my screen more. It's a complex with the class and teacher. And I've got there that it's naturally occurring in other environments where I think the kids learn some things in play, particularly those essential skills that I feel I've always underplayed. They're so key and pivotal. But to me, learning through play is really the best by far to get those essential skills learned and practiced by kids. And they are literally essential skills, especially today. And then they can transfer across. And you see in some different areas in the playground or other areas of core classroom work, that what they've learned from that coming into it, and for a positive. Right, Nirvana and play. So first up, it wasn't completely, absolutely perfect. There were some problems and things. So there was situations where there was some kids, and they, like one or two kids, and they really weren't sure how to get started. They weren't sure. They literally stood there looking at times, stood there holding on to the rail of the veranda as other kids are doing things, and you talk to them and things like that. And sometimes they could get involved, and other times they're still just not even sure how to engage. So that was like a problem. Silly behavior where they are doing some things that don't seem particularly creative or constructive, or they're wrapped up in sheets, starting to yell and jump around on the spot or something. So there was that silly behavior. That was like kind of like 3 or 4 kids. This is out of my class of 29. And there were some kids who did like an extreme repetitive, 2 to 3 kids, where they would just do Lego every single time. And you started to think, I really think they should do different things, but going through play and even looking back on it now, I mean, the non-starters all got started. They did find a thing. And whether that was from me or their friends or watching, it's not like I had these conversations and they got going. And particularly the ones, the silly, initially I was just straight out, no, you're being silly. See that or that or that. That's what I'm expecting to see. And then I'd leave them to change. But I found that it was, as I went through more in play, it was more just, and I'm talking about it hopefully sometime, I'm just writing it down, where it was like, yeah, what are you trying to do? And those questions about that, because a lot of the time it was just a different form that didn't fit the norm or the appropriate behavior. So sometimes it needed adjustment because it was, but look around, that's too loud, or you could do this. And it was a thing to be worked through and resolved, which was neat for me as the teacher to realize and feel that it gave you a pause to notice and then respond in a better way rather than a straight behavior, not assertive discipline, but just not really getting into the why and sorting that. So the silly was kind of almost not a problem, just a thing. The extreme repetitive, there are options of taking things away and other things like that, introducing some other things, but I actually found they started to do that quite a bit themselves. They'd do some quite different things at times. They'd often return to it, and I didn't actually think it was a problem. And then if you had a chance to talk to the individuals, find out a bit, see what they're doing, just watch, most of the time you're pretty much just really impressed with what they're doing. So yeah, it wasn't perfect. There were problems, but at the same time, a lot of the problems aren't problems, but it does take a while to work through and get how they're not problems. So, and it is a lot of that, the old time in the water thing, where you can't just, or for me, I couldn't just feel it instantly and have it solved. I did need to just work through things. And then, right, so the next slides are kind of pictures paint 1,000 words, where there is just pictures of the kids doing things or the things they're doing, and just me talking about, those things. And that actually reminds me, just one thing, with the photos, there's not extensive notes. I'm quite happy for anyone to use them for what they're worth. But with the photos, of course, any photos of individuals and things, can you not put that on any sort of social media or something like that? Those sort of standard expectations. Thank you, everybody. I meant to say that earlier. Okay. So I'll go on with the show. Now these photos here is this wall behind me right now. And this is something that Sarah mentioned kind of late in the year to me. But as soon as I heard it, I thought, wow, that's exactly, and she didn't say you should do this. She'd say, oh, I know someone who's doing this sort of a thing, but she actually, that wasn't my focus point. My focus point was something else. But when I heard this, I thought, I'm doing this. And it really makes it concrete, all the words and ideas and concepts and skills that you're talking about and catching and praising and working through with the children. And just with photos and Velcro signs of the words up on the wall. It was super easy to set up and really, really valuable. So we'd sometimes you can see a sort of a formally mat session there, And what I'd done, that was a new set of photos that I'd put on the wall, and it's the ones that are up there now. And I actually had put the words to the side, and I was going to get them to sit, or like the second photo, you can see they're all putting the kupu up, the words for what matches or what they can see in the photos. But before I'd even had a chance to say, that's what I want you to do, and we were doing this first thing in the morning, before school, a few kids had already noticed, and they'd put some of the signs up, because we had used the wall a little bit. And I was going to try to do actual, it may be in reverse, I'm not sure. But so we can see the kids have noticed, because that's how it works. It's like notice, recognize, respond. And there's a whole lot of different risk-taking, measurement, negotiation, thinking, problem-solving, teamwork, maths, creativity, science, testing, cooperation, oral language. Yeah, whole negotiation, a whole lot of, hope that worked all right. Just a whole lot of concepts there that are kind of tricky, and the kids use them. I mean, they even said things, things like, we're going to work it up and make it more complex, when they're just working through things, and you're like, what? And where it's just so cool what they're saying, and they can so readily see the things that you're talking about. So that was really cool. So this is one of the things I did late, and I mean, it's up to Sarah if you're involved with her, at what order you do things, but I'd do this as soon as possible if you're doing this. It's so awesome. Just sneakily do it. Stories. A lot of the kids are playing, so you see them sitting there, and they've got dinosaurs and other things, but they've got really complex things going on. They're creating the landscapes, talking about how the landscapes would work. The Lego boat and the cars there, that was a kind of a story. These guys, three of them, set up, I talked about it, and then we ended up taking a few snapshots, and then they just wanted to write it into the story. It was a car race that went wrong. And then we had some sessions that weren't play, but everyone else made up their own set of snapshots and did writing from it. So it wasn't really play, because it wasn't a free choice thing, but that's right. It wasn't in my play time, it was in writing time. But it just worked, and it came from them, and the engagement and effort involved, was just awesome. And I think as you go through, because like on that wall there, you recognize, so you are starting to think, well, that's exactly what you're doing. You're doing this, and initially you don't see it, but then you do. Like, this is the light bulb thing, and it's like, wow, you're doing that, you're doing this, you're doing that. And just if I sort of digress one other moment, that one of the really big key things, and I'm mentioning it at the end, but is that I really think the amount of brain, and I mean, this is Sarah's department and everyone who's into it with research, but the amount of brain effort and processing and activity that you can see is going on, it's almost like you've got X-ray vision, and you can just see all these brains firing, chemical reactions, everything's going off in the whole room, as opposed to some other things you might be doing where, because I often did it when I did reading, so I'd have groups be in and out of play and in and out with groups. But if they're doing other alternative tasks, just the amount of work that the brain did that day during play, again, it's that recognizing that, seeing that. And for me, that was a big part of the light bulb thing, where I thought, that is so good if kids are doing this every day with their brain. So that was a big major for me. Let's see. So much happens during the play. Like here, girls are sitting around making some things, but there's so much communication, sharing, talking, and also, like if you're, pretty much, I think these days, every class is quite a lot of complicated individuals, lots of tricky situations and anxieties and backstories, and a lot of people have struggles and struggle with others in the class. And, you know, this group here, quite a few of them struggle quite a bit with each other, but they seem to be able to work together in that play environment where normally they would not play together in a morning or lunch break. And when it comes to the task, you know, it takes that away, and they're doing a communication, and then it's breaking down some of those barriers. I don't know, so much is happening. This was, yeah, so now I'm shifting into what I really meant. I was going all a bit dreamy there or something. But so here, this this is one of the things where there's a zoo, and then behind the zoo was a movie theater, unrelated games. So there's tickets made and sold by the girls in the background, and the girl in orange, she's got the zoo. And then she had the zoo, they had a problem and the animals escaped. And she put they're watching the movie next door. She's watching the movie, which wasn't really anything, but then the animals were put near her, and then they just seamlessly combined their different activities, but no one had an argument or said, don't put that there. They just created this new thing, and then they're communicating this idea across. And, you know, it's a tiny toy lion on her shoulder or on the back of the chair it was, but it represented and was obviously, you know, it's kind of like those movies. It was a giant lion in the story, and all these things are happening. And it was an amazing thing to see how it was separate activities seamlessly joining, and, you know, that creativity, the cooperation. Yeah, it was cool. Often there's moments like this is one where we were doing some photos, and then it was like, because like I say, year 4 was my class, and as it goes up, it seems a little bit like, oh yeah, but isn't it more for year 1 and 2? But there's a lot of moments where it does seem to be, you could just get more sophisticated. You know, you could talk about camera angles and shots and those skills, and it makes it a lot better than just from above or something. There's quite a big backstory to the character in green, as the other two are running away terrified. You know, I think, because I did do year 5 and 6 a lot, and I know we're doing it a bit, and, you know, some are getting into it more than others. But, you know, there's a lot of scope there, and it would be interesting to just do it at whichever higher level you go for, or that you're sort of at. Turning points. I thought there's some big turning points that happened with individuals in the class because of play. With that wooden construction there, one of those boys, he struggled a bit, and he did some things that were surprising to others. He really made some funny decisions at times, not really being incredibly naughty or mean or something, but it was like we're struggling to fit in all these darts we made, so he stood on them all when they're in the tote tray and essentially ruined them all. So kind of weird. But he was really handy with a hammer and nail. And that construction, he was like the foreman on the site. And he's, you know, for someone who didn't have heaps of respect from others, it gave him so much respect. And then he had so much more respect back for himself. All this positive interaction happened, and they did quite a few of these building projects like that. But so he's probably done a bit at home or something, but he's doing skew nailing there, which is pretty tricky. And because they've just got little hammers as well, and he's showing the others how to do it. And then when other people are building, then they'd say, oh, could you please hammer this or start this or whatever? I'd go, well, go see that kid. He's pretty good. And then he'd just get more. And I really feel that his decision making got better, because I feel that sometimes he did things because it was almost expected for him to be the person doing those things, but it changed slightly who he was, and he changed because of it. And it was literally a turning point. The girls there, you know, all of those girls often in the sandpit kind of, and this is typical of play too, where they can kind of not be happy for not, you know, there's a lot going on and sometimes nothing, but they kind of not be happy. But so often with play, I mean, look at their faces. They're just having a great time. And that was the sandpits when they're new, and we hadn't really organized any little toys or whatever in there, and they're just in there having an awesome time. And we've got a huge sandpit around the corner, but I made those little ones just so they're outside the classroom, ready to go. And the dinosaur world thing, kind of a similar story in that they don't all get on, and they off and on all the time, and they can be a bit troublesome with each other. But then you may turn around and find them playing, being okay with each other in this play time. And then, it felt like you weren't always dealing with those same people arguing. They had a chance to try being around each other and have a successful moment. And yeah, the last guys just quite supportive and communicative to each other, because they had tricky things as well. But the amount of, they were the best to resolve an issue with each other, or if one of them was having a bit of an issue, they could help and fix the problem better than me, because they knew what the other person needed for support, or they knew, oh, he's actually doing this, and they'd tell me, and it's like, oh, okay, yeah, so they really looked out for each other. And again, I just feel that with that play, the essential skills, the time to do those things together, made that happen. So like a behavioral turning point. Next one. Oh, this was a fun thing I started, because it kind of like maps, geography. We don't really cover it because it doesn't fit so much anymore, the way we do things. But I do have a world map, and then I actually got another one. And so we started this game just before, the end of the day or after pack up or something, and you can see the two world maps behind them. And then two would just stand, and I'd call out continents and hit first to put their finger on it. Then it moved to countries. These guys got really into it and drew their own maps. And, they're all pretty detailed and awesome. They're 8 years old or whatever. And I took a sort of zoom up on that middle one. And then we culminated the year with a actual map battle tournament where we did seeding. They placed themselves where they were. I picked it up from the staff room years ago. I've hung on to it, and it's been really handy, like a 32 draw tournament knockout sheet. So we seeded it. You put where you thought you were, explained top versus bottom seed in terms of finals, because we'd already, with the FIFA Women's World Cup, done a thing like that where you got used to losing and not with, that sort of thing. But anyway, played it through, had the final, had a champ award at assembly, from the principal, that sort of thing. But it was really not done at school time. It didn't impinge on any school time, and it wasn't really a school thing. And I didn't really think about it in terms of play until basically at the end, where I thought, yeah, it's that play thing going through into other environments. And I never even really realized. Like those maps they did, I gave them the paper, or they grabbed some of the paper during play, and they went home and did those. And they did them sometimes. They brought them and they said, can we work on these at lunchtime? All right. What can you do? And then when we do my final map battle, we're talking, okay, Seychelles, okay, Liberia, okay, Guatemala. They're the countries, and then knowing them, and it's like, wow. So yeah, that was kind of fun for me, fun for them. Pretty much everyone really liked it. And yeah, and again, it wasn't actually I feel like it was a self-created thing. So that was pretty fun. Detailed planning, organization. The photos of things on the shells there is just a real super detailed layout. There are two people doing that. I couldn't find the photo I took of them where the next day they were setting it up again, because all of those things had a purpose. It was to do with this huge battle, one person versus another, and they laid all these things and they counted as guns and they'd shoot this and that. But it took so long to set up, it was pack up. And then a bit before it was pack up, because I always pre-warn, he was like, can you take a photo of this so I can rebuild it tomorrow? So that's what that photo is. That's not, oh, look what he's done. That's the photo the kid asked me to do, because he was like, and I had to do it at 2 angles, he said, I need to see this so I can set it up again tomorrow. So he's okay with that pack up. He's already thinking what he's going to do the next day. All of those things had a different value, and he needed to replicate and get that going. And he had an idea of how he could. I'll just use that teacher. He's got a phone. And to me, brilliant. We had quite a few shop games type thing, and this was a Kath. The chef's down below, she actually had made some little skillets and bits and pieces, and the orders were coming through, and the money on the whiteboard that you can't actually see is like a written menu of everything. And they'd say, "Oh, Mr. Greville, can you tell everyone that the shop's open?" I'd say that people had drifted in and out from their activity to join in with that. You can see the money down there, but there's a big organization planning, meetings, communication, negotiation before they could open, and then they'd be ready and they'd open and they'd go through this. And it was, again, just, so much to it, so much work. My maths program split into 3 groups roughly, and one of the groups was doing time and understanding time, and we had the stopwatches for the group, so they were needing to just experience and do different things, knowing 30 seconds, a minute. That was sort of their rough objectives for that one. And the other kids were doing their maths and their other activities and things, but they were noticing that. And then again, it's that play coming through. So then they're saying to me, "Can we use those stopwatches?" And then they were having tag games. That's how long they had a certain amount of time to be in for tag. The other game, they were doing some different dances, and they had to fit it within a time period or something, and so they're timing it there. But to me, it was like, you're doing the exact objectives of the other maths group. You're just doing a whole lot of maths, what we were just doing. And I mean, I'd say that to the kids too. It was so brilliant. And so they're doing the maths because they're just playing, and it's not even their maths, but they're doing the extra maths, I guess, more than probably an hour. Could be a problem. Anyway, yeah, so that was awesome. Communication, resolution, understanding, something else there. There were problems and arguments. The one with the piece of wood and the handshake, that was a really big one. And it went for a while because I came back and revisited it, and they're still stubbornly arguing over that piece of wood. But then they did resolve it, and I said, "I want to take a photo." That was so massive. So the resolution at the end, it's not some begrudging resolution and they've done something because I've said. That was long. That was quite long. So maybe, I mean, honestly, 15 minutes they might have both been in a bit of a grump for, but that's them at the end, and they got there. The other one was similar over resources, different blocks. And what I remember with that one was, I can't remember which one, but one of the guys on the left, he wasn't involved in it, but he sort of put his, could hear what was going on, and then said, "Well, what about this and that?" And he came sort of in as an impartial facilitator to the problem, and he helped resolve it. And it was, yeah. And it's like, oh, it's only blocks, doesn't matter. But, those things matter. Those things can really, really matter, like anything. And it was neat, though, how the other person comes in, communicates, resolves it. And talking about conflict resolution, often there might be a problem where I deal with it in this way, where 2 people are upset, where I need to go over. Someone could be crying, and I'm like, what's happening? And they're going, "Oh, blah, blah, blah," and they're already sort of escalated and heightened. So first thing is just hold on, wait, stop, and it's just that calming thing for a bit. And it's like, and then I'd go, "Right, hey, remember our play stuff," because it may not be in play, it might be at another time. And I'd sort of, if I'm in the room, I'd just point to the wall and I'd go, "Remember, you're communicating and sharing and being fair. Okay, go." And I'd literally fold my arms and step back, and then they would talk, and very, very often within 10 seconds, they'd go blah, blah. You'd sort of de-escalated it, and then they'd just go blah, blah, blah. And then they'd just go away. They wouldn't say, oh, I think we're right now. And they'd both be happy and gone. And my only part in that was the sort of de-escalation, and then that, remember the things we do, remember how we deal with it and what we can do, the communicating that, go. But not quite leaving, so they know I'm sort of there, and then they'd say a thing, and often it's like, actually, I don't really need this, or we'll both, But so that was pretty magic. And again, through that play, hard detailed work. There's a marble roll thing. That's just one part of it, where it went over a jump, got caught by the walls, dropped down a hole and went away. Quite a complex little gun there. Both of those were slightly off because I've got some sort of prop cardboard guns, and we were watching a bit of marble roll of different sorts of manufacture, or the sand marble roll races on, while we did some eating. But a lot of hard work to put all that in. Also, that table, just laid out. That was independently done, kind of by a tricky kid who, he's just kind of tricky. But, the amount of work and patience, and he just kept at that, and he laid that out. It was pretty magic at the time. The creative range, what people can get up to, and the more stuff, the better. You can't quite see how long the super tube is there, but actually, one kid took that home at the end of the year, and it's an old carpet. We had a place carpeted, and I was like, oh, you get that big tube at the end. So that's, if you want some mega tubes, go to the carpet layers. Wow, that was pretty fun. Right. So that's it for that part. And just finishing off, aspects of my philosophy and management that I think helped at work. I have always kind of been, it might be a bit to do with the relief work, who I am, all that stuff, but I've really wanted to try to have a happy, fun, positive sort of environment. I'm kind of energetic with it, kind of zany in different ways I manage things, like zany. Does anyone say that? I really love PB4L. We do these star reward things, but we call them dojo points, that system. And honestly, we got a pizza party off the principal because we got 10,000 dojo points as a class. But I love the way you notice what a kid's doing and you say, wow, that is amazing active learning. Well done. That's a dojo point. Because I always wanted one of those posters, 1,000 ways to say, or 100 ways to say a child's done well, and I would never do it. But the dojo points thing for me, or the PB4L, really did that lavish praise. I mean, why not? They're 8-year-old kids. Also with me, teacher-student hierarchical difference. I feel that, I can be firm and tell people off and that, but also I feel that, some teachers are kind of quite a bit like that. I'm definitely more like this, like that. And I think that helps. It helps that trust and play, that respect, that thing where they're not being told to, but they need to, because they know and they're sort of responsible for themselves for that. But that's because that's a big part of the play that I think is challenging, where you need to trust them and trust yourself. And it's noisy. I forgot to put that in my thing, but I'm doing a reading group and I'm thinking, wow, this is actually too noisy. And I'm about to say it's too noisy, but I'm noticing my reading group is looking and we're doing the thing fine. All the kids, no one is doing this. Sometimes you get kids going, oh, it's too loud for show or something. They're never doing that in play. And it's like, yeah, it is too noisy for the teacher. Otherwise, it's fine. So I'd still go, no, come on, that's too noisy, just because I guess I thought I'd better. But really, the only one who has the problem is you. And that's that teacher-student hierarchy. And the next thing, where it's like the sit and quiet. I'm not the expert at getting them to do that, and I don't super like it. So if you do that a lot, it's different. Play is different to that. I've always been, hey, talk, discuss, buddy up. Like if they're writing, I like it when they talk about their writing as they're doing it rather than be silent. I feel there's a lot of learning from that buddy, that checking, asking. Yeah. So there's that. And then it's giving that confidence in yourself, confidence to them, and that student ownership for those decisions and behaviors. And oh yeah, just quick, that picture, that was another shop. That was the FIFA Women's World Cup was on, and they did this FIFA merch shop, and they had, I don't know if you can see the arrow. Oh no, that was the clothing line all around there. I think that was it there. That was like a credit card machine that they'd made because they could have credit cards as well as cash and things. And they had standings and the price list. And I think it's the security camera because we had this crazy stuff you could look through. So I said, "What are you doing? You're standing there." That's because I'm the security camera. Yeah, so it's pretty funny. And yeah, granddad's hopes for the future. So I'd worry a bit about what's going to happen because of screens and the young brain and what they all see and the amount of inputs. And that was a big part from a keynote speech from Francis Steinberg, so there's all research for this stuff. I worry about that. Social media isolation, kids' behaviors now isolation. It's not everyone, but anxieties. So many in my class have got anxieties, and I feel we got on pretty good, but just other things that are going on, but they can really worry about things. I worry about kids being able to problem solve their issues in life or anything, and that feeling what they value, the worth of things, the worth of themselves, what they think's important. And I feel that, learning through play is a real good, would you say, counterpoint to all of those things. I think those essential skills are so important. And yeah, I know that in my career, we'd often put it on our plan. Oh, and the essential skill we'll cover is this. Yeah, just a waste of time, really. But through play, huge. The joy on the kids, the happiness, we would do play for one block or two, or a pod play on the Friday. So then they went with other classes as well. And they just loved that. And I really do want the thing that kids want to come into school. They want to come in and be happy and go to school. I think it's really hard cognitive work that they do. They really, like the guy said where I said it's like bullshit, but the engagement, that is there is incredible. The passion, I love how they get passion for things because you need to have that, and that can help you. Or who knows? I'm just talking now, but if you don't know what's going on in life, but if you've got a big passion, you're into it, man, that can occupy you. The experimentation that's involved, whether it's their own bodies, physical, mental, what they're doing, experimenting with groups, people, interactions, that practicing beyond the sessions, like kind of that map battle, like that stopwatch stuff, where we've kind of learned this way of learning or doing, because it's not even learning, it's doing, and then they just bring it into something else, because kids want to learn and know stuff pretty much, so that's that practicing beyond the sessions. And then, yeah, teamwork makes the dream work, where I feel that when you're doing the play, you, as a whole, you're working as a team, as a whole, there's that trust with each other, there's that sharing, there's everyone knows someone wants this or that, so maybe they actually give it to them, or maybe that person thinks, what, I'm not going to this time, and just, yeah, that's really important. And the joy also, I didn't mention it, but for me, or maybe I did, but when you're in the room and you're standing there looking around, not talking or interacting, and you're just having a really good look, and you can see all that awesome stuff happening. It is a joy to be a teacher. You're like, wow, this is really, really good. So yeah, in fact, that's probably a good time to finish. So all the best.
Well, thank you, Dave. There's so much there, and I just want to share with people watching. It's been a joy to work with Dave and to see this journey that's happened for him in the time that I've been coaching him. And I've got pages of notes here that I think I'll reflect on as well. But there's a couple of things that I just wanted to pick up. That I know some people have questions about. You mentioned a couple of times about being with your reading group, doing your writing. Do you just want to go through how you worked on that balance between the explicit teaching and being in the play? Because I know that was a challenge for you at times about where your heart wanted to be versus what you had to cover as well.
I guess what's jumping into my mind is, again, that time in the water thing, where it's, for me, initially it was like, right, I do these reading groups and they can do the play. So then the play was the busy work that they were off doing while I did reading groups. And then kind of changed the timetable so that I would see a group for this period of time and then see the play for that period of time. So then I kept seeing the reading groups and the play was the busy work, and I didn't see and I just wanted to get through my groups. But then I kind of adjusted it. Oh, I'm glad this idea jumped back into my head, because I stretched out the play so that I could see all the groups. And then I did go around the groups more, and it cut down on my writing time. But I do kind of do blackmail a bit, where I'd say we had less time for writing, but we did just as much, because we'd go through the thing. I'd go, look, I need you to do this, or else we're going to have to start play later. And bang, if you're teachers, is that all you've done? You've had half an hour. Well, it's morning tea in 5 minutes. Are you going to have to do it then? Oh, So, yeah,
But
and
that productivity also,
yeah,
increased because of the desire to return to play.
yeah. And also, the writing got a lot better through the year. Everything does, doesn't it? I just feel in my heart, so many games not in play were due to play. I feel, that confidence and ownership, that teamwork, all paying off when we're not doing play, but they're writing, or they're doing that buddying work, or that helping, or those new ideas. And you can see value it.
There were a couple of things I saw in some photos that I just wanted to highlight to people too. You mentioned about the kid who wanted to have the photo of the build that he'd made so that he could go back to it the next day. And I know that that's something that we talk a lot about with teachers is helping kids with that transition, whether it's a transition to pack up, it's a transition to come to a group and leave the play or go out to morning tea. That was a lovely example of you helping him transition in the need to pack up, so that he, it didn't become a big deal. He knew that he could come back to it and replicate it and pick it up where he left off the next day. So I just wanted to highlight that. I
add a quick, I'll be quick. And I have videoed it, but I can't find it. I'm not putting it on. But you have the hugest, biggest messes in your room. You can't imagine them, with sheets here and there, blocks everywhere, cars everywhere, Lego everywhere, everywhere, all over the whole floor. And I've got a cloakroom out into the cloakroom, all sorts of stuff. But 10 minutes, and it's ship shape. And all you do is you go, hurry up, let's clean up. We need to clean up. Well, this is what I did. And I just kind of kept saying that about every 15 seconds. And then it was just crazy. But then after 7 minutes, it's like, wow, we're going to be there 8, 9, basically 10 minutes. And it's a sort of mess where I feel if it was another scenario, it's like you cannot get this cleaned in half an hour or more. So, and again, but I feel that's that ownership again in what they're doing, and that collective, responsibility and the ownership. So,
but also I think your philosophy, which is what I wanted to touch on, you talked about your approach, your teaching approach. And I think what underpins that is that you were prepared to let go. You're prepared to let it go, see where it goes, hand over some of that trust and autonomy to the kids. But the other thing I noticed too, when I was in your class, when you are teaching, was that you speak to the kids with respect. You speak to them like they're humans, that they're little human beings. They're not, dumb. They're not irresponsible. They can't do this stuff. And that, I think, adds to that confidence in ownership in that space and taking responsibility for ourselves, which is key to a really productive play environment. Just two more things. One, the photo of the cafe where the child has tipped the table up. I don't think people can see that that's a whiteboard table, but when I was in your room and I watched you dismiss the kids into their play, that was the first thing I noticed, was that the kids got up and they moved furniture, and one kid straight over upended a table. This is now the sign for my cafe, and I think it was a pizza sign at the stage when I was in there. And what I loved about that was, again, that autonomy, that it's their space, and you allowed them to move and manipulate things in that space to work for them in their play. So I'm pleased that photo was in there, because that was really important. The last question I wanted to ask you, you talked a lot about your light bulb moment, the turning points and so on. If you could name one key thing that caused that light bulb moment, what do you think it would be?
It would be the standing and looking around. And like I said, I actually almost visualized, not with an X-ray, but there's some sort of cartoon thing when he's got a light bulb head literally, and you can see the brain, some sort of character. And I feel that that's what they're all like. And you just go, wow, they are doing so much. But yeah, for me, it was complicated to get there, but it's just like, yeah, you imagine doing that for 10 years, you imagine doing that amount of work and thinking and all that other stuff for 10 years at school. Brilliant.
Yeah.
So that, for me, that was when I really, really, sorry, but again, it's complicated because it's got to fit in, and then it did, and then I saw the values and other stuff, and it does, and so I can't really, so maybe that, don't know.
I think that's a pretty good way to finish there. So I really appreciate you sharing your knowledge and your expertise and the whole journey and wisdom. And I'm so pleased that you have done that, Dave, because I think it's a testament to the hard work you've put in this time. And I'm so pleased that others will now be able to hear about it and learn from it as well, and gain some little insights from your wisdom along the way. So thank you, and all the best. Dave is off to spend some time as a granddad and impart his wisdom on his grandchild, and share his knowledge now with his whānau as well. So definitely the best place to be too going forward. So thanks, Dave.
Thank you. All the best, everybody.